Well, greetings. How's this? Do we have audio? We're going to find out. Wait for someone to show up. I'm a little hoarse. I don't know why. I don't know. Shit in the air. Oh. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? I'm hearing some strange noise in the background. Is that there on your side of it? Anyway, I'm not gonna give the idiots much play here. Just one of the idiots. Oh, good. Thanks. One of the idiots thinks I've been interdicted here. As if I had anything to interdict. You know, I'm sorry. To like, just like, I don't know. Just, I'm not gonna let these people. You know, it's a legitimate start covering them. They're pathological liars, and they're projecting their own deficiencies at me. Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful day in Louisville. Let's see if they start. There's just like unbelievable ruling from the grand jury come down. There was an indictment on one of the officers. Brett Hankinson. They're all terminated. Was charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment for shooting into neighboring apartments. Now, what I don't understand is if they can charge him with reckless endangerment, wanton endangerment, why can't they charge him with negligent homicide? And they were serving a search warrant on the apartment. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think that anywhere it said anything about executing the people inside the apartment. The Attorney General Daniel Cameron said Mattingly and Cosgrove, who were first fired on by Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, were justified in use of force. I wonder why there's no video or body cam footage. I don't understand what you said, man. Whatever. Um, There's a meme of the day. How sad it must be believing that scientists, scholars, historians, economists, and journalists have devoted their entire lives to deceiving you, while a reality TV star with decades of fraud and exhaustively documented lying is your only beacon of truth and honesty. Like 2/3 of the people of America are fed up with this shit, and four out of 10 people, 6 out of 10 wish to go away, and 4 out of 10 like the taste of it. What else is worth talking about? I think. Oh, looking good. One of my dearest friends has been in chemotherapy for quite some time now for some tumors. Um, and she just announced that her scans came back today showing that the tumors are smaller. Hasn't been a good week for people in, I don't know. There's a there's a drug thing going on, and the main dealer was at another location, and her boyfriend, I guess, was involved with. I don't know. I haven't looked at the case that closely. I really don't know. I suppose I'll have to at this point. Um, I'm just so wore down from the news. A lot of different shit. I'm just everywhere. And they want to appoint this woman to RBGC. Cotter, I think her name is. She's a member of a Catholic cult that's got some real serious, like, bad talk about it. And she's totally like, one of these old school conservative family values, woman submissive to the husband kind of shit. And that's got everybody all up in arms about, like, well, what the fuck kind of influence is her husband going to have on her in her court decisions? What else is it? One of the Zionists went and, I've been part of the discussion at Facebook about the um, federation proposal between Palestine and Israel, call it the two states in one solution, where the Palestinians get their share, and the Jews get to do their thing, and there's one federal government for all of it. And that's what the early Zionists have been looking for in the first place, was what they called binational republic, where the Jews coming back to Palestine would share equally the governance of the land, and they haven't done that. And really, what's going on is it's just latest invasion of an indigenous agrarian society, the hunter-gatherer agrarian society, by European industrialists. These ones are Jewish ones. It's like a special toy for the Rothschilds. They've been involved in this shit for hundreds of years. They're the ones that are providing the money to purchase the arms and buy the propaganda and shit. And they care fuck all about how the liberals and the conservatives in America, they want to see us go to it, so they can sell us real fucking war toys for our police departments instead of the surplus. Sell them fucking new shit. Anyway, I just won't. I just can't give these things like any airtime. Like here's a bottle blonde Trump ally. I'm not going to even name this person. As calling a Kenosha shooter a little boy trying to protect the community. This was a fucking wannabe cop, wannabe shit-eater cop, authoritarian punk ass bitch from Lake County, Illinois. Wasn't even from Kenosha. He went over the state line. They say that he didn't bring the gun with him. They got it while he was there. And he's still walking free. You can be sure if he was a black kid, that wouldn't be what's going on. Protesting, and I wonder if they'll turn out into. I'm totally disconnected from the noisemakers in Tucson. They're idiots. They took it just a step too far with the George Floyd. They just kept it up and for no good reason, and it tied up the police resources, causing a lot of problems for the neighborhoods because there were no cops to respond to anything. I had it out with one of the main organizers. He just fucking blocked me. He didn't even have the balls to respond. Eric Trump's going to have to go and give his deposition about the financial dealings of the Trump organization in New York. I have a contact in Louisville. They're not too happy because they work second and third shift, and there's a curfew. Identitarian reductionism? What the fuck is that? The radical mysticism of identity. Let's see, is this going to be long? No, it's pretty short. How about that? This is by someone named Carl Bazer. I have no idea who he is. Writing on socialism, contemporary politics, and other things. Oh, he's got some stuff behind a paywall. The roles that class and identity play in determining history and human behavior have long been in controversy on the liberal left, but particularly since 2016, this discourse has taken on a fairly rigid framing. On one hand, we encounter the sordid figure of the class reductionist, a hardline dogmatic radical who insists that everything must be explained with reference to the material economy. The more accurate phrase, given how it is used, would be material reductionist, but the phrase class reductionist has evidently stuck. On the other hand, meanwhile, we have the humble intersectionalist, the sophisticated, nuanced speaker who sees in our politics the influence of the material economy, but also other forces of oppression like racism and sexism, and ageism and ableism. And what else? It isn't difficult to understand why this frame became so entrenched. During her run for president, Hillary Clinton's effort to position herself as intersectionalist, who admitted a role for the material economy and identity in our politics, while insisting that Sanders only acknowledged the former, let her pose as intellectually holistic and pragmatic, while vilifying Sanders as blinkered and simple-minded. And this framing has been useful ever since for the liberals who dominate our discourse and who want to delegitimize socialists in precisely the same way. The main problem with this rhetoric is that class reductionism, so conceived, does not actually exist as a significant or influential tendency. A less remarked upon problem, however, is that the converse is not true. Among a certain genre of reactive, semi-erudite liberal hostility toward the straw man of the class reductionists has plainly prompted a bizarre overcorrection, an embrace of identitarian reductionism, which denies the material economy plays a role in our politics at all. A good example of this tendency emerged yesterday. Consider this tweet by liberal pundit Jill Filipovic. Misogynist and racist incels are actually just economically insecure. Sure, this is fine. It's not fine, it's disgusting. And then from someone named Jacobin, even a glance at the incel subculture reveals misogyny, reactionary politics, and violence. The documentary TFW No GF also emphasizes that in part it's a product of lack of decent economic opportunities and broader loss of meaning in the U.S. Jacobin quite explicitly is taking the intersectional position, insisting that economic forces can only explain the incel subculture in part. But even this partial role for the material economy is a bridge too far for Filipovic, who dismisses the intersectional position in principle. Implicitly, the only permissible sort of explanation here is one that relies exclusively on vectors of oppression related to identity. Without explanation, Filipovic will even admit a role for racism in incel subculture before she concedes that perhaps economic forces could be relevant as well. But some of these nasty pricks seem to be like economically viable. It's just so nasty that nobody wants anything to do with them other than other nasty fucks like themselves. And they, the left wing, I mean, there's so many. That's so weird. I see so many like wannabe lefties that are just in it to get laid. Talk the right shit to the left wing women, and you can't get it. But for more persistent illustration of this tendency, consider how liberal pundits often talk about Trump's victory in 2016. Fox's Zach Beauchamp insists that there is little evidence that economic stress had anything to do with it. It's more like empowering hate is what had the most to do with it. It seems to still have the most to do with it. As these people just don't give a fuck about anything except the mandate to like be hateful. They're being encouraged to be hateful, and that's to them that's enough. That's plenty. There's a certain Mott and Bailey at work here. If you press these pundits on these statements, they'll eventually retreat to far more modest positions like economic forces swung some votes, but they were not the most important factor. But the polemic role of this kind of rhetoric is straightforward. Liberal pundits take hardline, absolutist stance against any role for the material economy in our politics, popularizing empty ridicule of economic anxiety. And this evolves into a widespread popular analytical bias against any consideration of such factors in our politics. Well, this is why I never studied any of this stuff. I think it's just too like arbitrary and nebulous. This language, the principles and the things that they assert. It's like, what the fuck are they talking about? This is the second declaration that somehow the material economy is not also playing a role in our politics at all. The fear, misery, and bitterness of poverty. We're going to find out about how much of a role the economy plays in our politics on my birthday. I don't give a fuck what they might be saying on talking heads might be saying, or a pretender in chief. People are hurting bad. A lot of people. Lots of people are hurting bad. Whether they'll actually come out and vote remains to be seen. It's obviously not the socialist position, but it's not even an ordinary capitalist position. From Adam Smith to Rand Paul to Elizabeth Warren, liberals have always. How do you lump Rand Paul with Elizabeth Warren? admit a role for boy, Fauci tore into him today. This is it's like quit talking your bullshit. Let me make my point. Twice, 3 times he had to shut him up. Liberals have always admitted a role for economic incentives in shaping human behavior and political outcomes. It's the economy, stupid, was considered a central insight of democratic politics for more than 2 decades. On the contrary, the sort of ontology one would have to construct to rationalize an absolute analytical bias against material causality seems to have little precedent outside of certain genres of religious mysticism. As I noted, I think that identitarian reductionism is probably best understood as a historical consequence of Clinton 2016 campaign's messaging. It is what happens when liberal pundits with massive corporate platforms popularize hardline, hyperbolic criticism of class reductionists out of rhetorical convenience. This is not, in other words, some inevitable expression of liberal ideology. It's even weirder than that. And regardless, we're going to be living with it for a long time. Biden probably cost himself a few million votes yesterday. Bragging about how he beat the socialists in the primaries. That's a real good way to. I mean, this is how we got Twitter in the first place. This alienated all the independent voters. No, intersectionalist, not intersexualist. Intersectional. Everything intersects. That we're there's a universal unity and a cosmic consciousness that binds everything together, and nothing happens without affecting something else. This is why we're where we are today with the climate. Is that for hundreds of years we've lived according to this architectural vision of like some kind of alien consciousness that thinks it can, harm humans. To the exclusion of all the other critters and plants. It just ain't working. It's just not working. Do you know what? There's a lot of particulate in the air today, and I'm having trouble with my sinuses, and I'm a little hoarse, and I just wanted to check in. I'll maybe come back later if the air clears up. Happy day. Thanks for coming. Bye.